Real monsters behind bars. The most dangerous criminals in U.S. prison history. Don't miss out on more true crime stories. Hit subscribe, like, share, and join the conversation in the comments. The blood-curdling silence of the maximum security prison was shattered on a cold evening in June 1993. A guard, making his rounds, stumbled upon a grim discovery. A lifeless body sprawled across the unforgiving concrete of a prison yard. The victim was a fellow inmate, brutally beaten to death, his face unrecognizable. The air hung thick with dread, as whispers of who was responsible quickly swept through the facility. But this was no ordinary murder. It was the sinister culmination of a power struggle between two of the most dangerous criminals ever to darken the halls of the penal system. As news of the violent act spread, shock and fear gripped the prison community. Questions loomed. Who had the audacity to kill inside the walls designed to keep violence contained? How far would these notorious figures go to maintain their control? Was justice even possible in a place where the real monsters wore the same orange jumpsuits as their victims? Just as investigators began piecing together the horrific events leading to the murder, chilling rumors surfaced that implicated not only the most feared inmate, but also a corrupt system that allowed chaos to reign. Could this brutal act expose the inherent flaws within the prison system itself? And as the clock ticked down, the truth loomed just out of reach. What lay behind the hidden walls of this grim facility, and would it reveal an even darker chapter in the history of American crime? To understand the horrors that unfolded within the walls of that notorious prison, we must rewind to the lives of the men at the center of this tragic narrative: Richard the Beast Ramirez and Thomas the Ripper Lee. Both men had earned their monikers through a series of heinous crimes that shocked the nation, and their paths would intersect in ways that would forever alter the lives of those around them. Richard Ramirez, born in El Paso, Texas, was a product of a troubled upbringing marred by violence and neglect. As a teenager, he fell under the influence of his older cousin, a veteran of the Vietnam War, who introduced him to the macabre allure of murder and Satanism. By the time he reached adulthood, Ramirez became notorious for a string of break-ins, sexual assaults, and murders that left Southern California gripped in fear. He was ultimately convicted of 13 counts of murder, 5 counts of attempted murder, and numerous other charges, earning him a one-way ticket to San Quentin State Prison. On the other hand, Thomas Lee had a background as chilling as Ramirez's. Raised in a suburban neighborhood, he initially appeared to be an ordinary man. But beneath the surface lay a darkness that manifested into violence. Lee was arrested for a series of brutal murders that shocked his community, earning him the title, the Ripper, after he gutted his victims with shocking precision. His crimes left families shattered and fear reverberating through small towns across the Midwest. Both men found themselves incarcerated in the same prison, an environment where power dynamics constantly shifted and alliances were as fragile as the lives they held in their hands. It didn't take long for tensions to simmer as Ramirez asserted himself as the dominant figure, attracting followers and instigating fear in those around him. When the prison authorities began investigating a series of escalating incidents, brawls turning into riots, and rumors of assassinations circulating among inmates, Ramirez took brutal measures to maintain his reign. He orchestrated a series of violent confrontations to establish dominance and eliminate those who dared to challenge him. As investigators attempted to decode the patterns behind the violence, incidents of corruption among staff began to emerge. Guards turning a blind eye to brutal acts in exchange for favors or payoffs contributed to a sense of looming chaos. The prison environment, designed to punish and rehabilitate, spiraled into a dangerous battleground where the true monsters reveled in their control. Each passing day brought new discoveries and raised questions about the system's integrity. How could an establishment designed to contain violence allow the most dangerous criminals to thrive and terrorize? As Ramirez and Lee's rivalry intensified, a tangible sense of dread filled the corridors, setting the stage for inevitable tragedy. In the grim depths of this sinister environment, a violent confrontation was brewing, a confrontation that would leave the entire prison reeling. Would investigators uncover the truth behind the bloodshed before it was too late? As summer descended on the prison in 1993, The atmosphere was charged with tension and impending violence. Behind the impenetrable walls, rumors swirled like smoke, feeding fears of impending doom. Both Richard Ramirez and Thomas Lee plotted their next moves, with deadly consequences on the horizon. The turning point arrived during a seemingly ordinary day in the prison yard when the sun shone brightly over the grim reality of life behind bars. Inmates, seeking respite from the oppressive heat, mingled under the watchful eyes of guards who remained oblivious to the brewing storm. That day, however, proved to be anything but ordinary as a series of escalating confrontations spiraled out of control. Catching wind of a plot against him orchestrated by Ramirez, Lee summoned a group of followers to confront the beast once and for all. The atmosphere thickened with anticipation, and palpable fear rippled through the yard. Just as tempers flared and chaos erupted, the guards realized too late that a brawl had broken out. Fists flew, bodies collided, and the fight for power rapidly escalated into a violent clash where the weak became prey and the strong fought to survive. As alarms blared and chaos ensued, a guard stumbled upon Lee, weapon in hand, poised over the battered body of Ramirez. Blood pooled around them, mixing with the dust of the prison yard beneath them. In that moment, it became clear that the savage power struggle had reached its deadly climax. One man would emerge victorious, but at what cost? As authorities rushed to seal the area, the once bustling prison yard devolved into a grim scene of violence that could not be undone. The guards, caught off guard, scrambled to regain control, but the damage was done. Ramirez lay motionless, and Lee stood victorious, now shackled by the chains of guilt and consequence. Investigators, unraveling the immense complexity of this case, sought to piece together not only the events of that day, but the broader implications of a failing correctional system. How could such a tragedy unfold within walls meant to contain danger? The repercussions echoed far beyond the prison gates, raising questions about safety, justice, and the monsters that lurked within. As the dust settled and shock rippled through the criminal justice system, it was evident that this brutal confrontation had opened a Pandora's box of revelations. Would those involved face the consequences of their actions? And would the stories of these real monsters behind bars continue to shape the very fabric of American imprisonment? The chilling reality remains. Some monsters may find their way back into society. But for now, the true fight for justice continued behind bars, where survival emerged as the only law and danger loomed at every corner.